Good afternoon, McFatter Technical High School students and parents. It is Thursday, October 8th. I am Jeanette Johnson, your McFatter Director and Principal, here as promised earlier in the week with your end of the week update for the high school as we go into the next week. With me, as usual, the Assistant Director in charge of the high school, Mr. Daryl Harris.
Hello, everyone.
And the Magnet Coordinator, Miss Lily DeCastro.
Hi, guys.
Good afternoon to everyone. Okay, so we're going to dive right in with one quick reminder for all of our students and their families, and then the remainder of this week's update is going to be some updates specifically for our students who are returning physically to campus. So the first thing we wanted to do here on what is now a planning day, you all didn't have class today, is we wanted to remind you of the change in the schedule that happens beginning tomorrow. And so I'm going to put that up on the screen so that you can see it. Okay. And so you should see there on the screen, not only the calendar changes, but the bell schedule change. So of course, today is the planning day. Tomorrow, our new bell schedule starts, and this is it right here. Your first period will start at 9:15, second period starting at 10:50. The lunch now 12:21 to 1 o'clock, third period beginning at 1:04, and fourth period beginning at 2:39 with a 4:10 dismissal. Later start, a little bit longer lunch, and a little later conclusion than what you've been doing since March. So make sure you note that. And then when we have early release days, and there will be 3 of them next week, you still start at 9:15, but the periods are a little bit shortened and the dismissal time becomes 2:15 instead of 4:10. So make sure you make note of these schedules and then notice how this will work. So tomorrow is a full regular day under the main bell schedule. Then next week, Monday, Wednesday, and the early release days following this schedule. Tuesday and Thursday are regular bell schedule days following this schedule. And then on Monday, the 19th, will be a teacher planning day. There will be no school for students. So again, make sure you make note of these changed date times and the schedule and how that will impact you. Reminder for those of you who will be returning to physical campus instruction with us. Tomorrow, that is only for some of students in our special career placement program, which is not any of our McFatter Technical High School students. And then next week, the 9th graders returning for on-campus instruction with us come back on Tuesday, and the 10th through 12th graders on Thursday. So we wanted to be sure that everyone had all of those important dates and times so that you can make note of them and make those changes starting tomorrow. Okay, so the rest of this message is going to be simply around information for those of you who are returning for on-campus instruction. So if you're staying remote, you don't have to watch the rest of the video if you don't want to, but we wanted to go through a few more reminders and things to expect for those of you who will be returning for on-campus instruction with us beginning either next week, or remember we talked earlier about how if you wanted to stay at home next week because of exams, you could do that and then begin returning face-to-face with us on Tuesday the 20th. But we wanted to go through a number of those. And so the first thing we wanted to do is make sure you're all aware of the daily self-assessment that the district is asking each student with their families to do every morning before coming towards campus. And so for that, I turn it over to Mr. Harris.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And in addition to us providing a quality education for you, especially in this environment, safety is at the top of the list as well. And so as Ms. Johnson mentioned, there's a daily self-assessment that we do need you to do each day because we want to keep you safe as well as everyone else on campus. So there's a couple things that I need you to do each day when you get up before you decide if you're coming to campus or not. And number 1, do you feel warm, have a fever or elevated temperature of 100.4 degrees or higher? Do you have any chills? Do you have a persistent cough, runny nose, or a sore throat? Have recently had a loss of taste of smell? Has anyone in your household tested positive for COVID-19? Have you been in close unprotected contact with anyone who has tested positive for COVID-19? Are you feeling sick or ill today? Are you awaiting a test results for COVID-19? Have you been told to self-quarantine or self-isolate by a doctor or Florida Department of Health. Now, and even when I started at the beginning, say, do you feel warm, have a fever? Doesn't necessarily mean you're sick with COVID-19, but you may not just be feeling well. And even if you don't feel well, we want you to stay home. It could be a cold, could be anything. We don't know, but we want you to be safe. We want you to stay home and get better so you can come back and be able to be productive and in our environment that we have here. But when you do come back to school, you're going to notice all around campus that we put a lot of things in place for you to feel safe, protected. There'll be, as Ms. Johnson mentioned in our last video, there'll be directional signals for students to walk in, to keep everyone spaced out, even within the classroom. So we're doing everything possible to keep you safe, but just remember this self-assessment needs to be done every day before you come to school. And we really appreciate you working with us to keep you safe. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. And you made a really, really important point about students staying home, not even because you might necessarily have COVID, but just because you're not feeling well. And we want you to know, be sure you know that if you need to do that, maybe you're not feeling well enough to come to school, but you're feeling well enough to participate. If so, you can still participate in the remote instruction from home. You'll just want to send a notice to your teacher. I'm a little under the weather today, so I'm going to stay home and participate virtually rather than coming face to face, so that they know that that's why you're showing up in the remote environment rather than in the physical classroom. If you do that, you won't be marked absent, so you don't need to worry about that. Now, if you're truly not feeling well enough to even do the work, then not only stay home, but take the day off and have your parents call you in to excuse the absence for illness. Again, we want everyone to remember that your health and your safety and your well-being is first and foremost more important than anything else. So all of us are taking that daily self-assessment as well. The school is not doing things like temperature checks. No school in Broward County Public School is doing that. And so we're asking everyone to please perform these self-assessments every single day. So let's say you go through all that and you answer no to all those questions, so everything's fine. You come on to school. There's some things you need to remember to bring with you. And for that, Ms. DeCastro has some reminders.
Thank you, Ms. Johnson. There are 4 big things we need you to bring. 1, your back to school form. If you have not done your back to school form, if you've not done it, do it. And if you've done it and not provided us the confirmation, print that page out and bring that to school with you. The second thing that we need is your laptop with charger. So if you have your laptop, charge it up before you come to school. But when you get here, we'll be able to plug in a few spots if you need it during the day. If you are working with a desktop at home and you did not email me, please email me to let me know that you need a laptop at school for while you're on campus. Third thing, headphones. With a lot of people in the room on a computer, you need to be able to hear what's going on in class. Headphones with a microphone would be best so that you can respond to the teacher as well. And then the fourth thing are textbooks if your teacher says you need it. Verify if your teacher assigned a textbook for you to take home and you picked one up. Please ask your teacher if you need it, because we're not supposed to be sharing materials on campus, and so we might need you to bring it, but if your teacher isn't requiring it, no need to bring it back. Those are the 4 things: back to school form, computer, headphones, and textbook if needed. Did I miss any?
Mr. Castro, I just have one question for you. So with the back to school form, who should they turn that form into? The first period teacher, who?
They can just hand it to us, because we will be at that at both sides of campus. Hand it to us. Let's get it approved and taken care of so that we don't have. And if there's an issue, we will have a few paper copies. It's just a lot more homework for parents on the first night. Parents is faster. Do the online form. Trust me, I've had to do it for years.
Great. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And that provides a nice segue with Ms. DeCastro saying that you'll be able to hand that form to us. So we wanted to then explain to you, what can you expect on the first day? First of all, bus transportation, I'm going to ask Ms. DeCastro to give us a little bit of an update about that in a second. But if you are taking the bus, one thing you can expect is that for the first couple days, it's probably going to be running late. Not always, but it may very well be running late. But here's what's going to happen once you get to campus on at least that very first day. We have two ends of the campus called the mall, an east end and a west end. The east end is where the buses drop off, and the west end is where the parents drop off. Those of you who came through and did in August, you picked up materials, you were on the west side. That is the side for the parent drop off. We leave the east side for the buses. So we will have McFatter staff at both ends of the mall. And every single one of you, one at a time, as you come on campus that first day, we're going to stop you and sort of check you in. And when we do that, here's what will happen. First thing is we'll make sure that you have with you the things you need, the things that Mr. Castro just talked about. The laptop, textbooks if they're needed, headphones, your back to school forms if you need to get those still to us, and so on. So first thing is we'll make sure that you have what you need to set you up for success for the day. The second thing we'll be doing is verifying to make sure you know where you need to go each period. We know you know who your teachers are, but you may or may not have already heard from each of them which teachers will be teaching remotely and which will be on campus. So what we have done on campus is we have made arrangements for where students will report if for those classes where their teachers are teaching remotely. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe every student, when I think about the teachers that are remote versus face-to-face, I believe it's accurate to say that every student will have at least one teacher who is working with them still remotely. And so one of the things we don't want you to be confused about where do I go because this teacher's at home. So that person that's going to greet you that first day will also explain to you exactly where you need to go each period so that you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to stress about that. They'll also explain to you about the processes of social distancing and keeping the 6-foot distance, where we have one-way hallways, where we don't. So they'll make sure you understand all that. They'll also explain to you about the meals. We want to remind you that all Broward County students are still currently entitled to both free breakfast and free lunch. For those of you who are reporting to campus, you'll be able to get your breakfast before school, and the lunch will occur during our normal lunchtime. So the staff will make sure that you know how to access those and where to go and get those things as well. And so the idea behind this is one at a time, and there's a small enough group of students who are returning, and especially since it's a staggered return, that we'll be able to meet individually with every single one of you, make sure you know exactly what you need to be doing, where you need to go, and it'll be an opportunity for you to ask any questions you have of us. Then you'll go about your day. Remember, we've already talked in the past, if during the day you start feeling unwell, we have both a clinic and an isolation room for students who may be concerned that perhaps if they're a little bit worried about their symptoms as possibly being symptomatic for COVID. So we'll have those resources in place. Counselors are here, some of your teachers are here, administration is here, and we'll all be working collaboratively to make sure you have everything you need in order to be successful. Mr. Castro, transportation update.
At the moment, we do not have this, which is what they call the summary of all the buses and who gets onto which bus. As soon as they are marked, they are supposed to show up in your virtual counselor log. So if you go into single sign-on virtual counselor, there's supposed to be a pull down that will pop up once the buses are populated in there. If you indicated to us after the surveys and you were approved, your bus may not be ready yet. They have promised us that by Tuesday, all students who completed the online survey should have a bus. So
the online survey by the 29th?
Sorry, by the 29th, correct. Anybody who, if you had an issue and you had to call us, those were not guaranteed, but they said everyone who completed that survey online. This was independent of us. So we did everything we can to get the information out as fast as possible, and they're working as hard as they can and as fast as possible. So, everything's being done manually across every step of getting everyone into the building right now. So human power is not as fast as computer robot power sometimes, but we're hoping to have you all ready by Tuesday is the goal.
Absolutely. A lot of moving parts, and not just because it's transportation.
Right. So as we get any information, if I get any updates, I promise I'll let the students we expect to have come to campus. I will email their parents. And I'm trying to send more messages. I apologize for all the emails coming home, but I'm trying to keep you guys in the loop as we find out new things. So thank you for asking about that.
Absolutely. And then just a reminder, if you're scheduled to learn from campus, any day that for whatever reason you're not physically going to campus, you need to either have your parents call you in sick, or whatever the reason is, if you're not going to be participating that day, or if you are going to participate but remotely, you stay home, you do that, but you make sure you draw attention to your, bring your teacher's attention to the fact that for that particular day, you're working remotely rather than from the class. Was there anything we missed that we wanted to be sure people knew before we move into this week of phasing back in? No?
We're excited for the new phase, and we will be there. Be patient with us. Students will be patient with transportation. It will take longer. Parents, don't freak if your students are on the bus longer than expected on the way home. Just remind your students to make sure their cell phones on when they get off, when they're leaving campus, so that you can call them to see where they are in the route. That's something we always remind parents on the first day of school that we didn't say before.
And we're just excited to see all of you come back, and especially to those new 9th graders that'll be coming back. Yay! Welcome to McFatter. We look forward to seeing all of you.
Absolutely. With that, as always, you can reach any of the three of us via email, or Mr. Harris and I can be reached by phone. We're in our office daily now. Mr. Castro will wind up being in her office daily beginning
Tuesday, I believe.
Tuesday, okay. But definitely email, always let us know if you have any questions. And for those of you who will be taking the exams next week, we wish you well on the exams. Study up and knock them out of the ballpark. And we hope you have a great weekend. Everybody take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.